Hey everybody, Beardo back with more Batman Modern Age comics to share with you. Yesterday we did Nightfall. We did it real fast, only 4 minutes. We went through the breaking of the Batman, which basically took place from 492 through 497. We looked at the rise of Azrael in 498, 499, and 500, and then we saw Azrael wreak havoc in the Batman costume in 500 through 508. And then we saw, basically in the last two issues, the return of Bruce Wayne in 509 and 510. It came really, really quickly, and the reason why the return of Bruce Wayne came so fast is because DC had its next big Crisis on Infinite Earths level event with Zero Hour. Now, I'm not going to talk about the details of Zero Hour, because that's a whole nother thing entirely. But basically what happens is you have a villain that's trying to rewrite DC history, very much the way the actual writers of DC were trying to do at the time. And so what happened was Zero Hour ran in September of 1994. It was 5 issues. It was a countdown, issue 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. And during that month that Zero Hour was taking place, because it was coming out weekly, all of the regular titles in DC had a Zero Hour tie-in. And since the villain of the piece was trying to rewrite history, you got all kinds of crazy, almost Elseworldsy stories in the regular titles. You'd have, characters of their past meeting up with the same character in the present. You'd have different versions of characters bumping into each other, alternate histories, just all kinds of random stuff. In Batman, we got the meeting of Barbara Gordon as Batgirl and Barbara Gordon as Oracle. And this is kind of an interesting little issue. I wasn't a big fan of Zero Hour, but I do actually kind of enjoy the tie-ins because they are very sort of random and one-off, and you kind of get some interesting takes. Nowadays with the New 52 and having Barbara Gordon back as Batgirl, the naysayers of that really point out that, Oracle is a very strong character on her own, and she's very different than Barbara Gordon was as Batgirl, and she really, has come into her own as a character when she was Oracle. And you really do kind of see that a little bit in 511, and really get a sense, even way back here, just how important Oracle is as a character, and how she is very different from when she was Batgirl. Some other things that were going on in Batman at the time, you had Alfred Pennyworth returning as the sort of chubby, British, snooty, crime-solving sleuth that he was in the Golden Age before he became the classic Alfred Pennyworth, the butler of Bruce Wayne. That was kind of fun. That happened in Shadow of the Bat. My favorite Batman story from that era was actually, or from that month, was actually Superman, Man of Steel, in which Batman comes to warn Superman about the impending doom of Zero Hour. And the problem is, all of the different iterations of Batman that you could imagine have the idea to go tell this to Superman at the same time. And so you have all these different Batmans cutting each other off, trying to tell Superman that, doom is coming, basically. And you have, the Frank Miller Batman of Dark Knight Returns arguing with the Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams Batman of, of the 70s. And you have the animated series Batman getting in there, and you have, Carmine Aventino's Batman. And it's just really fun to see all those different Batmans not only meeting, but seeing that they really kind of wouldn't get along if they all met, even though they're all the same person, different versions of the same person. It's for that reason that even though the Zero Hour, the actual event, was kind of lackluster for me, I do enjoy a lot of these tie-ins, because you do get those kind of quirky stories. Now, after Zero Hour, you have the first big DC mandate that every title is going to put out a Zero issue. For those of you who are new with the New 52, rest assured everything has been done at least once before in comics. So the first time DC mandated Zero issues was in 1994. It would have been in October, and basically the idea was exactly like it is this month with the Zero issues. Let's give people a good jumping on point, retell the origin, and kick off the next storyline in a new direction. Now, well, a lot of a lot of DC characters got, big makeovers after Zero Hour. Batman has never been one that's gotten the big makeovers. Jason Todd got a big makeover at the beginning of the modern age after Crisis on Infinite Earths. But really, that's the biggest change that Batman's gone on. He's been a pretty solid character throughout all of DC's revamps. Really, this is a Knightfall aftermath story, so, not a whole lot has really changed. The changes that are gonna come naturally in the next few issues that I'm gonna show you. The big change for Batman at this time was really probably that Catwoman that we knew from year one was completely revamped and kind of thrown out. And that's really, the biggest change that they made to Batman that I can think of at this time. And unfortunately, it's kind of the biggest misstep. I really thought that was an interesting Catwoman, and they never really took that as far as they should have. Now, while basically in this story, Batman is, he's back as a, as a mentally strong and physically strong individual. He recognizes that the cowl has kind of been sullied from Azrael, and that, even though he's back as Batman, something's still kind of off. Now, in the midst of that, you get all the usual origin stuff, as you would in any Zero issue. But basically, Batman decides that there's big changes on the horizon, and those changes really kick off with 512. Now, in 512, you have the beginning of the Prodigal storyline, which is a big crossover, and what happens at the very beginning of this is Bruce Wayne says, Dick, talking to Dick Grayson, you should have been Batman while I was gone. Well, I have to leave again, because I have to revitalize this symbol, and I have to figure out how to, bring Batman back to the glory that he used to be. So you are going to be Batman. And sure enough, this Dick Grayson here is the Batman that you're looking at. Now, it's kind of a sad time for Jim Gordon, because he was getting really frustrated with all these different Batmen running around. He got Bruce Wayne back for like a second, and then all of a sudden you've got Dick Grayson here. So there's definitely a level of trust that really has to be built up. That's one of the things they're building up with the Prodigal storyline. The other big thing with Prodigal is, at the beginning of Knightfall, you had Bane release the entire contents of Arkham Asylum onto Gotham City, and Azrael didn't do anything to clean that up. So basically, Dick Grayson is the one who gets stuck with that duty. So that happens basically throughout the next few issues of Batman in 513 and 514. And then, basically, at the end of this arc, which concluded, I think, in Robin, I don't remember which issue it would have been, you have kind of the return of Bruce Wayne and him having to wrestle the mantle back yet again, this time from Dick Grayson, because Dick Grayson kind of, goes through a lot of the same things that Azrael went through, and sort of realizing how big of a responsibility Batman was, and kind of getting lost in the cowl. And you have this sort of cheesy element of only Bruce Wayne can be Batman because no one else could handle the stress of it. It's, like I said, cheesy. Anyway, last issue we're going to look at today is the issue where basically DC set the new standard of what Batman is going to be like. And we got the new creative team that we're going to have throughout all of the mid-90s and all the way through to the end of the 90s, which is Doug Mensch continuing, and Kelly Jones on interior artwork. Now, you looked at Kelly Jones' artwork quite a bit in the Knightfall video, because he basically did all of the covers to Knightfall, and basically with 515, which you can see here, kind of, because it's one of those black annoying covers. Not my favorite cover, to be honest. There is an alternate that's much better, but I've never had a chance to pick it up. This is the only one I've found. But basically, Kelly Jones comes in and reinvents the Bat costume, and he does it in a way that's sort of intended to be more close to Tim Burton's version, except that Kelly Jones' art style is very, very stylized. And so, even though the costume is supposed to be more like the movies that were coming out at the time, it's really not. It's really just sort of this crazy Halloween costume version of Batman. And that's what we're going to see in the next issue. So I won't talk any more about Kelly Jones here. We'll save it for next time. Hope you enjoyed today's video. The new standard for Batman has been set, and let's see what direction Doug Mensch is going to take us in. Alright, see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.